This video is sponsored by Surfshark. It's that time of the year again to look back and reflect on the products that impressed. There's been a lot of great tech again this year. Some slightly disappointing like the S22 Ultra, a quite predictable iPhone 14 range. Both the Pixel 7 Pro and the Z Fold 4 really impressed me this year, but if I had to pick one, it has to be the Fold. This is a special one. I'm Alex and I do down-to-earth tech videos. If you're not a foldable user, I know exactly what you're thinking because I was myself very reluctant to buy this phone. I thought it was way too expensive. It looks quite unwieldy, right? And quite bulky. But let me take you through my experience. Largely as an iPhone user, you can see I have an Apple Watch here, but I like to keep an open mind about the stuff, right? Tech for me is interesting. There's innovation in here that we shouldn't ignore. Sure, the Fold 4 is a little bit cheaper now, but still comes with an eye-watering price tag. I'm not gonna deny that either. But the question is, does the Fold 4 deliver on that price? And do we get our money's worth? Shall we add a little bit of a suspenseful pause here? Yeah, just do that. Hell yeah! I mean, if you think about it, right? You're getting a tablet and a smartphone, plus all the convenience of using it in multiple ways. I never used an iPad mini, but now after using the Fold for so many months, I now get why that size is so popular. But here we're getting quite a bit more than what you would get on a small tablet. And with the latest One UI updates from Samsung, there's quite a few improvements that is making this even more powerful. I won't cover all of those updates here on this video, but I'll be showing you them on the screen. This One UI update has literally just come out a couple of weeks ago, so it's fresh off the press, so to speak. Anyway, I was very busy reviewing the new iPhones, reviewing the Pixel 7 Pro, and after the dust has settled now, I have to say, this is the device I'm using the most. For my personal use, this is the one that I'd say I'm using 70 to 80% every single day. It's been 4 months now. I just love watching content on it, playing games with it, doing a bit of work. Is it perfect? No, it's not. No devices. All of these devices have some sort of problems with them, right? Including how they slide around the table like this. And the Fold is no different. It definitely has some quirks. And there's a word of caution as well in this video about the cameras, which I'll get into later in the video. As a first-time foldable user, the fact that I was enjoying this so much, I thought there's got to be some sort of novelty factor, right? But it's been 4 months now, and folding a phone for me has a very, I can't really explain it, but the best way I can describe it is it takes me back to the good old days, It just makes so much sense to me. I really think Samsung have nailed the experience here. This is going to sound a bit crazy and maybe counterintuitive as well to you, but it's actually the most ergonomic phone I've used in a long time. Everything about it just feels right, whether it's open or closed, the balance, the texture. I'll confess something actually, I know I reviewed a couple of cases for this already, but for the last couple of months, I've been using it naked and it's really nice. It just feels like luxury, I'm not sure if it's the color, but there's definitely a classy feel to it. I just have to be extra careful. I do have a protector on the front, but I've been using it without a case because I just like how it feels. And the best part about this phone, or one of the best parts for me anyway, it sounds incredible. The speakers on the Fold make a huge difference to the user experience. You thought I was gonna say the cameras, right? Well, I do have something to say about the cameras. Hang tight on that one. The audio quality is such an underrated feature that I don't think many people talk about this, to be honest. I know it has an advantage in comparison with other phones like the Pixel 7 Pro, but even when comparing it with the iPhone 14 Pro Max, for example, I just think the Fold just sounds much better. Another point, and this is a bit of a hack, I'm not sure if it was done by design, but is that you can hold the phone like this with the speakers kind of on the lower part, and when you cup your hands like that, it makes the sound even better, kind of coming towards you. I really think that's quite neat. Just make sure you're using Dolby Atmos as well. Turn that on because it's not on by default. And where the content supports, you get the absolute best quality. If you know me, you might be wondering how I was watching Brazilian content here in the UK. I was using Surfshark, but we'll talk about them later in the video. When it comes to the audio, I think there's an important distinction to make, which is audio level versus audio quality. Because you might be thinking, hang on, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is amazing. What are you talking about? And to be honest, I do think the 14 Pro Max is actually louder, but I'm getting a much smoother sound, just a better quality sound on the Fold 4. Audio quality can be quite subjective, so what I prefer might not be what you prefer. So I'm gonna leave 15 seconds here for you to be the judge of that. Just maybe wear some headphones as well so you can really hear the difference there. You know what else is great about this phone? Is the actual cameras. They are amazing for, I know Samsung did
They didn't put the same specs on this phone as the S22 Ultra, but man, do they deliver it. Really, really good. It's a nice day as well for it.
I actually did an entire video comparing the cameras on all of these phones, so check that out afterwards. But here's some shots that I took with the Fold 4. As you can see, you can get some really great shots. I love the color in general. I think Samsung took the feedback that they used to be quite oversaturated previously and have started to produce quite natural looking shots now. Skin tones are great, portraits are fantastic. It's just a really, really good camera. There are scenarios like low light portrait shots where I think they over-process a little bit, but overall, this packs a great set of cameras. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people buy this phone because of its multitasking capabilities, it's a productivity beast. But I do love how Samsung didn't ignore the importance of having a good camera these days. And before we talk about productivity a little bit further in Samsung DeX, I just want to say how fun this camera is to use. Not only does the Fold produce some really awesome photos, it is super fun to use. Like many Android phones now, Samsung packed a lot of fun features on this camera. My son and I took this phone for a spin in London recently, and it was a fantastic day out. We had the Fold with us. We took all sorts of different shots. I definitely recommend you watch that video as well after this. But I was doing time lapses, 4K recording, ultra slow-mo. It's been a great camera for portrait shots as well, and really responsive overall. I think that's actually another reason why I really like the Fold, is that in comparison with the S22 Ultra, especially for us plebs here in the UK who get the Exynos variant in this S22 Ultra, I'm glad that we get a much snappier processor on the Fold now. See what I did there with the whole Snapdragon? Yeah, you get it? Yeah, cool. Okay, let's talk about productivity. I thought it'd be good to show you how Samsung DeX can transform this device into a fully fledged workstation. And I'm not just saying this, this is not a gimmick. I can literally run Microsoft Office apps, print stuff, multitask with lots of apps open, move them around in a way that even the iPad Pro, if you take that kind of massive tablet, that can't do it with Stage Manager. It's a much more limited experience. There's a separate video coming up on that, by the way. And before we go further into Samsung DeX and how amazing that is, here's that word of caution that I mentioned earlier. There is a big problem with one of the cameras on the Fold 4. Don't worry, it's not none of the main cameras here, but I think it's worth mentioning. Is the internal front-facing camera. It's just pants. It's really not that good. Maybe I'm being overcritical here because it will get you out of jail, right? If you're in a situation where you don't have any other options, like at an airport and you're trying to join a conference call in the last minute. But it's just not something you want to be using every single day because you may as well be using a potato as a camera. Right, going back to Samsung DeX, something that I think Fold users care a lot about is multitasking. Now, like you've seen, I can use this for work meetings, with mostly Microsoft Teams, but I also use Slack and Zoom as well. But that is nothing new, right? You can do that with pretty much any phone these days. What is cool though is the fact that you can use Samsung DeX to turn the phone into pretty much a desktop computer. And look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I use this on a daily basis. I don't. I do use Samsung DeX a lot for work, but typically I use my Tab S8 Ultra here for that. But I thought I'd give you a taste here of how powerful DeX can be. And the performance is amazing actually. iPad users, just look away now because this is gonna hurt. Samsung DeX is incredible. If you work on Windows and Microsoft Office and you don't feel like getting your Windows laptop out just for a few emails or writing a couple of documents, DeX is a great alternative. I know from my previous videos that there's a few of you out there who are actually using DeX in anger on a daily basis. So this is definitely not a gimmick, right? And the experience is getting better and better with the updates as well. The latest One UI have improved DeX a little bit as well. Really great to see. When you think about it, right, you can hook this up to a decent monitor with a nice Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and there you go, you have a workstation powered by your phone. For me, I know this is not new, but for me, this is mind-blowing still. Now, you might be wondering, how about those battery issues that we've heard, right? I heard loads of those reviews as well. Even before the phone came out, people saying that the battery was gonna be terrible. And I know exactly how you feel because I've been there. Last year, I was really skeptical and didn't actually get the Fold 3, even though I really, really wanted it because of those battery issues and because of, what people were saying. But the reality is with the Fold 4, even on busy days, the battery is awesome. I don't know what Samsung are doing here in terms of optimization, but it actually got better after a month or so. Whilst the battery won't last 2 days like the iPhone 13 Pro Max used to do, when I'm really busy using it, it does last the entire day without issues. Sometimes it goes into the next morning if I forget to charge it. So really, it's pretty safe to ignore, I'd say. Any battery comments that you hear out there, I think it's safe to ignore. I have had a few days when I was really, really busy traveling to London, taking 4K videos, making long phone calls, and even in those busy days, the battery held up all the way to 10, 11 p.m. with 10-15% left. So one of the busiest days I've had with this phone was when I was recording a day in the life video. And even then, you know, I still had some juice left at the end of the day. So definitely recommend you go watch that after this. It was a great kind of real world usage of the Fold. One of the things that I really wasn't sure about when I first reviewed the Fold is accessories for it. It's not so much a Fold issue, but accessory manufacturers don't really pay attention to the Fold yet. But I finally found a decent car mount and it really helped with my drive. I mean, having the Fold 4 is not like having a Tesla, right? But having a bigger screen does really help. I mean, the Fold 4... I'm trying to record. God damn it. I don't know about you, but my car system absolutely sucks. Thanks so much again for your recommendations in my last video. I found that this car mount here works really well with my other devices too, not just the Fold. So if you're driving and you get stuck somewhere in a long way, this is perfect for catching up with your favorite podcast shows or Netflix episodes. Which brings me to today's sponsor, Surfshark. There are so many reasons why I like Surfshark, but off the bat, what I genuinely love about it is that I can share my account with multiple devices in my house. Not just Android devices either, Apple devices as well. For the dads and mums out there, love mums. Okay, that came out wrong. Sorry. I mean, we've got to protect our children, right? Have you seen these effects that you can apply to the Fold pictures, by the way? I love the different blur effects that you can apply here, which in a way is what Surfshark VPN is doing when you browse online. It encrypts your connection, basically blurs it out so that the bad guys out there, you know, the hackers, they don't steal your information.
Right now is actually a perfect example. We're in a restaurant here. My son wanted to use his iPad. I needed to get some work done. But the beauty of Surfshark VPN is that it protects your privacy regardless of the connection that you're using.
Anyone who tries to snoop on you won't be able to see what you're doing or even where you're doing it all from.
You can never really trust what's going on in those public Wi-Fis.
The reason accessing public Wi-Fi can be really risky is because it's really less safe and hackers could easily watch what you do and steal your personal data, for example.
You know what's not risky though? Trying out Surfshark.
You can try it out, and if you don't like it, you have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, if you use the link in the description and my code AlexGTech, you will get an 85% discount and 3 extra months for free on top of that. Another great feature, for example, that I love, especially when I'm using the Galaxy Fold 4, is to watch sport content. Now, being from Brazil, I really miss the more exciting commentators when watching football. So with Surfshark, I was actually able to watch all of the World Cup games with the commentary that I like from my favorite TV channels back in Brazil, just setting up the VPN as a Brazilian IP address, and that was it. I'm actually going to Brazil soon, and another great benefit of Surfshark VPN is that you can buy cheaper flights by doing the same thing and changing your IP location to another country. Many websites, not just air companies, base their prices on your location, so this is super useful for online shopping. And talking about pricing, out of all the services that I subscribe to, Surfshark is actually the cheapest. It's costing less than £2 a month right now. Like I said, they've got a fantastic deal of 85% off, and using the link in the description and the promo code AlexGTech will give you an extra 3 months free. Thank you so much again, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video. Right, I love the Fold 4 and the user experience, which as a first-time foldable user is a breath of fresh air, you know? But this device is not perfect. I always try to remain balanced here because this phone is amazing to use, but there are a couple of things that could be better. For example, I really think they should have included the S Pen. I don't particularly use it myself on the Fold because I'm near my Tab S8 Ultra most of the time during the day, but I think for this price, the S Pen could have been included here. I did hear some rumors that the Fold 5 would include the S Pen and have it built into the phone, which it would be awesome. But at the same time, I wonder if that would make the Fold 4 bigger, and I worry about that because I think right now it's a perfect size. The other smaller issue I've got with the Fold 4 is perhaps, not the device itself, but more about the apps and how they're developed. Some Android apps just don't get developed with this form factor in mind. Some of the social media apps like Twitter don't really take advantage of the fact that you've got effectively 3 screens to deal with here. Most of the mainstream apps out there behave just as well as on any other device really, but I really think more could be done to take advantage of this folding aspect. And a final problem for me is voice input. I've been spoiled with the Pixel 6 Pro and now the 7 Pro, which have incredible speech-to-text features. Here on the Fold is not as good. Speech-to-text as a feature is highly configurable on the Fold, and you can select Google services, for example, like you do on the Pixel. But the Pixel just seems to do it a little bit faster for me, a little bit better. But that doesn't take away from the experience for me. Hey, having used this for 4 months now, I truly think it's at a point now where the technology itself is mature and the engineering in this, is at a level that makes this a serious device. You get low distraction on this amazing tablet-like screen with the convenience of a smartphone. Game changer and phone of the year for me. If you're in the market for a foldable phone, this is definitely one to consider. YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video I did over here, and I created this playlist for you as well, which I think you'll like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon.
We tried too many times. stay right by you.